In this lesson, we're going to introduce design accelerators. Think of the design accelerators as your engineer's handbook online, which will allow us to go back and create some real common parts in a very quick and easy way. We can also go back and do some calculations. Think of the design accelerators as functional design. So not only are we going to create these components, we can go back and also do all of our engineering calculations. The file that I currently have open is called shaftassembly.iam. It can be found in your Chapter 9 exercise folder. This assembly at this point has no components. It's just been saved. To start our design accelerators, I'm going to switch the assembly panel to the design accelerator panel. And you see that we have a set of tools, so everywhere from bolt connections, shafts, gears, belts, pins. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of different options that are available here. So what I would suggest is go back and select on one of those and work your way through it. Also utilize the help system as needed. So what I'm going to do for our lesson here is I'm just going to select a couple different options here. First of all, let's go ahead and I'm going to create a shaft. So let's switch to an isometric view. Now with this shaft here, the defaults are going to be coming back up from the last time I created a shaft. So you can see the last shaft I created had these specific components here. But now we can go back and we can make some modifications to these. So in this case, with the cylinder 75 by 200, I want to modify the dimensions of that. So I'm going to click on the three dots. Now what I can do is go back and make these changes. So let's change the diameter to 50. And let's keep the length at 200. For the next portion of that shaft, so if I spin it around here a little bit, let's go make some modifications to that. Let's change that diameter to 75. And again, let's keep the length at 100. You can see the change has occurred immediately. We can modify how we're going to make that transition. In this case, I have a fillet on there. I can decide, well, I don't want to have any feature in there, so I'll go ahead and delete that. For the last portion of this shaft, let's go back and make a modification to that. So in this case, I'll take it back to 50 again. And let's change the length to 200. Go ahead and click OK. Now we do have other options here for end treatments as well. So in this case, let's go back and put in a lock nut groove. So this was back to the engineer's handbook information that I was talking to. So this is all based on standards. So you can go back and specify exactly what you want. In this case, I'm just going to accept the defaults. And let's go ahead and click OK. And I will go ahead and create that part. And let's place that part, so I'll just pick a point on the screen. Now if I rotate the screen around, you can see that we've created our shaft. Now I can always go back and make some modifications to that. So I'm going to right click on the shaft and select Edit using Design Accelerator. So now what I'd like to do is maybe I want to go back and I want to add in a different transition here between that first and second shaft. So we have some other options to do that, cylinders, cones. So let's go back and place in a cone. You'll see I now have the option for that cone, and it's defaulting to the different sizes for that transition. So I'm going to go back and modify the length of that. Let's say that I want it to go out 300 millimeters. For that transition, go ahead and click OK. And my shaft has been updated. So we can go back and you can keep on modifying your shaft in this case. So next what I'd like to do is add a wrench option for that last portion of that shaft. So I'm going to just select on the portion that I want to edit. So again, I'll just pan the screen over. And let's go back and add in a wrench. So again, we can go back and modify the size and location of that shaft. So you can see right from the diagram information, maybe that 100 is going to be a little too long, so I'll go back and modify that to 50. Go ahead and click OK. So what I'd like to take a look at next is going to be the other tabs that we have. So while you're creating your shaft, go ahead and click on the Calculation tab, and you'll see that we have a whole bunch of information in regards to the part that you're creating. In this case, it's a shaft, so we can go back and calculate some information about our shaft here. Again, you can go back and place in whatever information you want, in this case loads or supports. We also have a graph, so we can go back and graph off your information if you want to find out some more information about that. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. And our shaft has been created. For the next portion of this exercise, what I'd like to do is take a look at creating some gears. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to the gearassembly.iam, and it too can be found in your Chapter 9 exercise folder. So what I'd like to do is place in 2 gears between my 2 shaft pins that I have. So again, I'm going to switch to the Design Accelerator. In this case, I want to place in a couple spur gears. Now from the dialog box, we're just going to go back and we're going to specify what is it that we want Inventor to be solving for us. So you see we have a whole bunch of different options. In this case, I'm going to select the module and number of teeth, which was my default. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to select the cylindrical face for it to start. So I'm just going to select that back pin. And the start plane is going to be this top part of the plate. And for the second gear, the cylindrical face is going to be back there. And you can see Inventor's automatically calculating some information in regards to my input. So again, I could go back and calculate that back out, find out some information about that. You'll see that we have the Calculation tab, just like we looked at when creating that shaft. So go ahead, we can calculate that back out based on your input. So let's go ahead, in this case, I'm going to create my gears. So now if I go back and I spin this around, you'll see that everything is looking correctly, and Inventor is automatically applying those assembly constraints for us. What I'd like to take a look at next is what happens if we go back and make a change to one of our original parts. So I want to change the location of those shafts. So what I like to do is I'm going to open up the plate, and at this point I'm going to change the location of those holes. So right now I'm at 230 millimeters. I'm going to change that to 300. So we'll click Update, and let's switch back to the gear assembly. And again, we'll do an update here. As you see that the assembly has been updated to show the new location of those pins, but of course now our gears are no longer meshing. So what I'd like to do is we're going to go back and we're going to edit the spur gears. So I'm going to right click, and again we'll use the edit using Design Accelerator. So Inventor is still believing that the center distance was 230. I could select it from the list. I could enter that. Or what I'm going to do in this case is I'm just going to reselect the shafts. And of course, once I have done that, you'll notice that the center distance has been updated. I'm going to click on Calculate. And if you spin it around, you'll see that we're getting the circles to go back and interfere with each other, and that's exactly what we want in this case, because that's actually going to be the meshing of the gears. Let's go ahead and click OK. And again, as you can see, everything has been updated. I can take those gears and spin them around. Go ahead and experiment with the different options inside the Design Accelerator. It can really help reduce your design time. Also remember, after placing in your components with the Design Accelerator, you can always go back and edit them.